Various stakeholders, such as the shareholders, employees, financiers, regulators, the government, and members of the public rely on these annual reports to make decisions. In the House, in Parliament, this is very key. So I was discussing also the gurus I was seated with, that when I looked into the booklet, ministries are not exempted. So I think I'll tell my ministry to try. Maybe we shall get an accolade one of these days. So I'll encourage them. I'll encourage them to participate so that they don't shy away from this, because it's also good for transparency and accountability. Therefore, the quality of financial reporting must be high in compliance with the global standards. I think Mr. Mutumba talked about this in his remarks. Therefore, I'd like to appreciate the organizers of the Financial Reporting Awards, ICPAU, SCMA, USE, and Vision Group, for creating this event and sustaining it for 14 years. 14 good years. Thank you very much. And I think every year it's getting bigger and better. Bigger and better every year, because that's what I heard some people saying, that last year it was a bit challenging. This year it's much better. Next year it's going to be much, much better. So please, participants, make sure you participate in the next year one so that you see bigger outturn. I'm told that over 1,000 participants have benefited from the awards since the inception. That's a very big number, and that encourages people, challenges them, but also encourages them. Enhanced stakeholder confidence, employee motivation increased, and sustained funding and increased brand awareness are some of the rewards that participants have attested to. Therefore, again, organizers, thank you for this wonderful thought. Now, speaking to the theme of promoting excellency in corporate reporting, disclosing the environmental social governance and performance and progress. To emphasize the significance of ESG, we must place the current situation into context. In 2023, United Nations Environmental Programme report reveals that global greenhouse emissions grew to a record high of 57.1 gigatons of carbon dioxide, equivalent in 2023. This is 1.3% growth rate compared to the previous year. So every year there is growth of the green gas emissions. And this is dangerous. And I think we can see the effects of this. In the pre-pandemic decade, greenhouse gas emissions growth was at an average of 0.8 annually. But now, as you hear, it's 1.3. Possibly next year, it will have increased to 1.5, God forbid. The earth is heating up fast. We are witnessing the impact in the rampant wildfires. You have seen this in California, where homes are destroyed. Thousands of homes are destroyed from wildfires. In Australia and elsewhere. Prolonged drought. Recently, there was even a threat on the Zambezi about some of you who know that river, the Victoria Falls, has been threatened to be brought to dry. That Musonyatonya world-class facility is being threatened with drying up because of change of weather. And you saw what happened in Mozambique recently. So declining green cover and severe storms, among others, have been affecting us. You have seen what has happened in Spain, the floods recently. Hundreds and hundreds of people lost. In Nigeria, the same. So we need to appreciate that this is a challenge. It's not something which is being hyped. Global warming and the climate change is here, and we must address it, and we must be able to curtail what is happening. That's why in our infrastructure development now, we must ensure that the environmental and social safeguards are top-notch. We must ensure that we pay attention to the environmental aspects. We are now making it mandatory for every contractor, annual contract, to show what you are going to do about the environmental protection. Not just planting trees, but beyond that, to ensure that our environment is well protected. We still have a big challenge, our fellow countrymen and women. We don't respect our environment. If you see what we do in our drainages, where we are putting all the garbage and waste, and then the next day we complain about the floods, but the garbage is within the drainage. The way we dispose of waste, the plastics. God has helped us that recently we got people who are recycling the bottles. I wonder what would be happening if we didn't have that. So we need to get into the habit of managing our environment and also being sensitive to some of the actions we take and some of the behaviors we do which affect our environment. For this reason, organizations must take deliberate action to reduce the impact of their operations on the environment. And I'm pleased with the theme that the organizers selected for this event because it's very, very timely. It's a matter of concern, and we should live here with a changed opinion, and each one of us committing or being moved to see what we can do about protecting our environment. How is the government embracing ESG? On our part as government, ESG forms an integral part of policy development and implementation. Vision 2040 and the National Development Plans are closely aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals. If you read those documents, you'll see that they're really aligned to the SDG. Through SDG focal persons at the district level, collaboration with civil society and other partners, and SDG financing, among other initiatives, the government has made strides towards realizing the SDG goals. And we account for this every year. Even recently, the Prime Minister was in New York giving accountability of what we have done on the SDG goals. According to the Sustainable Development Solutions Network and SDG Center for Africa, Uganda is more than 50% on track towards achieving the SDG goals by 2030. So we are on track. We can congratulate ourselves. Some people have not started. Some countries are below 10, but we are at 50%. So I think among the 52 African countries, we are not doing bad because we are ranked 18 out of 52. At least we are somewhere. Furthermore, beginning with the banking sector, the government has embarked on creating ESG frameworks per sector. In June this year, Bank of Uganda launched the ESG framework for Uganda's banking sector. I think the banking people in this room can attest to this. The framework seeks to guide financial institutions in adopting sustainability practices, supporting alignment with broader sustainable goals. We are also aware that the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board has commenced on the process of developing sustainability reporting standards for public sector entities, particularly the climate-related disclosure standards. Our hope as government lies in the guidance that will be given by ICPAU in conjunction with the Accountant General's Office on the possible approach to embrace these standards in the public sector. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, the president of ICPAU, well represented by the able, has made some good submissions. And I picked a few which I could maybe just talk about. One, adoption of International Finance Reporting Standards. sustainability disclosure standards. I think that's a good one, and we should be able to embrace that. So I would like to congratulate the ICPAIU upon the decision to adopt the IFRS, Sustainability Disclosure Standards for Uganda. This is a big step. It's a big step in the right direction, and so we should be able to pursue this. It's a significant milestone in enforcing ESG compliance. Again, the representative of the president, Eble, who has represented her very ably, you requested for collaboration in the promotion of these standards across the various sectors. On this, I would like to pledge my commitment towards promoting the application of the standards in the works and transport sector. I commit myself, and if I don't, please keep knocking on my door, and you say you made a promise, and I'll play the tab. The representative of the president and all the distinguished members. The president also spoke about the enforcement of the Tax Procedure Code Act requirement for the taxpayers with annual turnover of 500 million shillings upwards to file tax returns along with the financial statements prepared by ICPAIU. Financial statements should indeed be prepared and audited by professionals who are regulated by the National Professional Accountants Organization. You have quacks, we have quacks everywhere. We have quacks in the engineering section. We even have quacks in the military. I think I've seen people putting on uniform when they're not supposed to be in the army. But they're there masquerading as generals, some of them as majors, but has never been in a military school. We must get rid of quacks in all professionals. That's why even in the engineering, we are coming up with a new engineer registration bill to ensure that every person involved in that profession is registered. If he's not registered, you have no reason to perform anything to do in that line. So please also insist that those quacks are eliminated from your profession, because they're the ones who give us a bad name in any area. Yes. So leave no stone unturned to ensure that the quacks are eliminated. And I think you have full support of government on that one. I've also noted the message on the pro bono accountancy services. Very good, thank you very much. I think you are walking the line of the lawyers now, that you can offer pro bono services, which is going to be offered by accounting firms during the accountancy service week. But please advertise this so that many people can be able to come and benefit. So thank you for this noble initiative. Sometimes it's good to do something when you don't even expect a return. It is so fulfilling if you do something when you don't expect to get a payback, and you do it for free when somebody really who needs it takes it in good faith. So thank you very much, and I encourage you to do that. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for listening to me. I want to thank you for inviting me to be here. I want to thank you for the great meal you have served this evening. And I want to thank you for the good company which you have enjoyed. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good evening.
Thank you so much. General Katumba, it would be unfair to live without a handshake to the old boy. Thank you so much. And a photo moment. Thank you so much, General. Yeah. There is one thing we share in common with the General Katumba. And when he was growing up, his dream was to become a doctor, but he ended up in the army. For me, when I was growing up, my dream was to become a soldier. But I ended up in Ipsas, and this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our guest of honor. We now move on to our last session. Chair, this is your moment. As I invite the chair to take stage, I would also like to invite Mr. Saul Seremba. Kindly step forward. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to our last session of the awards. And these are going to be given out by Mr. Seremba, Board Chair, Capital Markets Authority. The very first, before we get into the awards, just a reminder, I've been requested to remind you. In our booklets, we have a paper like this. We have these insertions. These insertions are to give us feedback. We are happy to get feedback from you, ladies and gentlemen, about the entire event, where you want us to improve, where we want us to move better. So kindly use the code, the QR that is there, and then relay that feedback. We move on to the special categories. The very first one relates to entities that report using the International Public Sector Accounting Standards. And the citation for the winner of this award, ladies and gentlemen, goes as follows.
Thank you, Charles. The award goes to an entity that has consistently prepared and presented financial statements complying with International Public Sector Accounting Standards